Okay. The formula, okay, so remember a trapezoid, it's got 4 sides. It's got 2 parallel sides, remember? Those are the bases, so base 1 and base 2. And the distance in between the 2 parallel sides is called the height, right? So the height is always the perpendicular distance between the 2 bases. All right, so what about the formula of a trapezoid then? It's the height times, there have to be parentheses here, which dropped. It's the height times base 1 plus base 2 over 2. Or another way that we see it written is half times height times base 1 plus base 2. Okay? It's not confusing at all right? So you just have to remember the 2 bases are parallel to each other, and the height is the distance between the parallel bases. Okay? And this is super, super important because you actually see this again and again, and then it plays a very big part in calculus. All right? Okay, so it's half times base 1 plus base 2 times height. Okay, so here we go. The area of this trapezoid, always find the bases first. It's these 2, right? And then the distance between them will be the height. So area is the height, 12, add the 2 bases, divided by 2. Okay, so area is, all right, so these things cancel, right? The 12 and the 2 cancel, so that's just 6 times 40, and that's 240 square yards. Now, these 2 are the bases. Does it matter which one you call base 1 and which one you call base 2? Not at all, because you're just adding them, right? Okay, take a look at this one. Now we need to find the height of the trapezoid if the area is 750. So again, you've got the bases, 35 and 25. We start with the formula. Area is equal to height, base 1 plus base 2 over 2. Okay, take a few seconds and write stuff down neatly because it's going to help you to solve for everything, right? So area is 750. Height, we don't know what it is. The base is 35 plus 25 over 2. Now, we have to do order of operations. So 750 is equal to h times, do the parentheses first, 60 over 2. Okay. Now, you can simplify the 60 and the 2. That gives you a 30. Don't rush these. So 750 is equal to 30 h. Now we can divide both sides by 30. So that gives you 25 equal to h. All right, so on the answer space, you're going to write h is 25, and what will be the units? Meters. All right, do you see how we were meticulous enough to not skip any steps and just take your time? The extra 2 seconds will help. Okay, so that's a trapezoid. Okay, the formula for a rhombus, for the area of a rhombus, is actually quite different from all the other ones. It only depends on its diagonals, right? Okay, so what is a diagonal? A diagonal connects a vertex to another vertex that is not adjacent to it. Okay, so like to a faraway vertex. So that's one diagonal. This is D1. This is another diagonal. We call it D2. Okay? And the formula for a rhombus is just D1 times D2 over 2, or half D1 D2. Right? So we have to look at the lengths of the diagonals. half d1, d2. That's how I always remember it. Half d1, d2. d1, d2 divided by 2. Okay, so take a look here. When you're given these, this 18 is the length of this diagonal. And this 12 is the length of this diagonal. You don't have to like draw it again, but that's basically what it is, right? So that's d1 and d2. And the area is half d1 times d2. Does the order matter? No. Okay, the order does not matter. And this is 108. Rihanna? So, all right, here we go. Oh, we're not given anything for this one. We're not given any of the diagonals. We're given the sides and some angle. Oh, trigonometry. SOHCAHTOA. Here we go. It's never going to leave you. Never. So this is the 62. Okay. So what we're going to do, remember what I was saying before, is always focus on a mathematical diagram. Figure out if there is a right triangle. Well, we're in luck because there is a right triangle. Okay. I've got the angle. This, we'll call it x. That's the opposite side. And the hypotenuse. That sounds like a what? Sine. Sine of the angle is x over 13. So 13 sine 62 is x. And when we put it in the calculator, x is 11.48. Okay? So what's D1 if it's this horizontal diagonal? What's D1?
11.48.
Correct. So D1 is 22.96. Okay, now this one is y. Okay, and I'm going to do cosine for that one because if the 13 is the hypotenuse, that's the adjacent. So cosine of 62 is what over what? What do you guys think? Right, so in this case it will be y over 13. So 13 cosine 62 is y. So y is 6.1. What's D2 then? 12.2. Okay, now I can find the area. Do you see how much work there is already? Yeah. Right? You need to show me all of this work. Area is half times 22.96 times 12.2. Okay, and that is 140.1. Okay, you can also write this as, it doesn't matter, as like D1 times D2 over 2. Okay, don't flip the page just yet. Okay, so either way is okay. All right, this is the formula for the area of a rhombus. Okay, and as Rihanna said earlier, if you have a kite, it's exactly the same thing. So let's add it here. Right? So do you see how like a kite is just like a skewed rhombus? Okay? The concept is the same. All right, any questions? Yep. Yep. Okay, now next we're gonna do some factoring practice today. Okay? All right. Okay, so this is stuff that you may or may not have seen, or you may have seen it a long time ago or not at all. All right, I'm going to teach it as if you haven't seen it, and hopefully, you know, with this chapter, we'll get to review a little bit. Okay.
Does this chapter have factoring other than this little page?
Yeah, I myself put in a little bit in like each lesson. Okay, so we're gonna factor out the GCF first in each polynomial. GCF is greatest common factor. What that means is, this is a polynomial. The reason why a polynomial means something that has more than one term, right? How many terms does this one have? 3 terms. 1, 2, 3. How do you know what's a term and what's not? Well, each term has to be separated from the others by a plus or a minus, right? So this separated by a plus is another one from this, which is another one from that. 3 terms. This is called a trinomial, like a tricycle, okay? So this is a trinomial. All right. Before we start to factor any polynomial, you first have to see if there is a common term in all 3 of them that you can pull out. Okay, and the way we do that is, first look at the coefficients. I have a 4, an 8, a 28. Is there anything common that I can divide by?
4.
A 4, okay?
4.
And then I have an r squared, rs, and r, okay? All 3 of these have the variable r. To figure out how much you can pull out, you look at the exponent and you can pull out the lowest exponent in them, right? So for example, this is r to the 2, r to the 1, r to the 1. So I can only take out r to the 1. All right, always the lowest exponent. Now, when I factor it out, okay, what remains goes in a parenthesis. Okay, when we factor out, sometimes we do it so instinctively, our brain doesn't even have the chance to process what it is that it's doing. Factoring out is the same as dividing. So if I'm going to factor out a 4r, it's like mentally, I'm going to divide each term by 4r. So if I divide that by 4r, what do I have left? 4 divided by 4 is 1, r. Plus, if I divide that by 4r, 8 over 4 is 2. R over r will go away, and then I have an s left. Finally, if I divide that by 4r, I have a 7 left, and the r's cancel out. So this is the factored form. All right? Cool? R plus 2s plus 7. Okay, so here, between the 12, the 24, and the 30, what can I factor out? A 6. Okay. I have an x squared. What can I factor out? An x, a y squared, y to the 4. A y. So, I'm going to mentally divide by 6xy. 12 divided by 6 is 2. And do any of the variables remain? No. Plus 24 divided by 6 is 4. And which variables will remain here? A y. Minus 5, how much? xy. Oh, cube, sorry. I thought we were taking out a y squared, right? So what did we do there? We mentally said, okay, divided by 6xy, y to the 4, take out 1y, you have y cubed left. Cool? This is factoring out a GCF, a monomial. Okay. Now here we're going to factor each trinomial. So the way we're going to factor is, a trinomial factors into 2 factors. Okay? This is the first one. So you need to figure out 2 numbers that multiply to x squared. That will be x and x. Now, we need to come up with 2 numbers that multiply to negative 6 and add to 5.
6 and negative 1. Yes, 6.
Okay, so it could be negative 3 and 2, negative 2 and 3, negative 6 and 1, negative 1 and 6, right? But the only one that adds up to 5 is this one. Okay? Okay. Go ahead and factor B. Don't call out the answer just yet. Just factor it. Okay. What's going on here? Right, so, and if these two are minuses here, then these two have to be, I'm sorry, if those two are pluses there, then the parentheses each have to have a plus, okay? All right, this next one, G and G. So two numbers that multiply to negative 27 and add to 6. 9 and negative 3. Okay, what about this one? X, 5 and negative 3. Okay, this one, you know what? It's okay that it's reversed, right? It's not in the order that we like to see it. Let's just keep it that way. I know it's uncomfortable and like all sorts of weird, but it's okay, right? Because how do we get 9 and 9?
9 and 1. You mean 9 and 10? Then 9. It's 9 and 10.
9 and 1 plus t, right? Does that work? Yes. Okay, so that's just the basic sort of factoring. I didn't put any on your homework today because I want to combine it with some others for tomorrow's homework, right? So the homework for this is a handout.